Welcome to the More Than Anxiety podcast. I'm Megan DeVito, and I'm the life coach for stressed out and anxious women who want more out of life. I'm here to help you create a life you love to live where anxiety isn't holding you back. Get ready for a lighthearted approach to managing anxiety through actionable steps, a lot of truth talk, and inspiration to take action so you walk away feeling confident, calm, and ready to live. Let's get to it. Hello. Welcome to episode 50. You are listening to the More Than Anxiety podcast. My name is Megan DeVito, and I'm a life coach for women who are stressed out and anxious who just want to love their lives and go after their dreams. Today, I'm going to share an interview that I did with Jessica Laurence. Jessica is a fantastic mom who has all kinds of helpful information on how she manages anxiety and stress and 2 toddlers. So I hope you really enjoy the interview, and I will talk with you again at the end. This audio is unedited on purpose because I think you need to get the full-on mom life that she brings to the table. Enjoy this episode. This is a fun one.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the More Than Anxiety podcast. This is episode 50. I cannot believe I'm already halfway to 100, and I am really excited to introduce you today to Jessica Laurence. I met Jessica a while back on Instagram and just really loved her content and the fun way that she shares and helps moms deal with anxiety. So I know you're going to love meeting her, and I hope you really enjoy this interview with Jessica, and we will just go ahead and get started. So Jessica, how are you today?
Good. I got my workout in, I got a shower, makeup on, and it's 9 a.m. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah. And it's like, we were talking before we started that it's kind of yucky around here. So getting motivated sometimes in the morning is a big ask. So that's great. Well, why don't you start by go ahead and introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do, and tell them what they need to know.
Sure. So I'm Jessica. Hi, I'm a wife and I'm a mom of 2 toddlers. They'll probably come over here and interrupt me at some point again. And we live in the Chicago suburbs. I also have 2 dogs and a cat. So it's pretty much crazy town here, like every single day. But I help moms, like you said, dealing with anxiety and just stress and the overwhelm of motherhood. And I am passionate about sharing natural solutions, primarily through advocating for the use of CBD, and then also just educating on ways that you can find quality and safe hemp products.
I love this. I love it. And it's so fun because one of the questions that I'm sure for you, but that I also hear is like, what about medication? And I'm like, yes. And no, and whatever works, right? Like whatever works for you. So, so CBD, tell me, what do we need to know about CBD to begin with? Or like what brought you to CBD?
Yeah. So I want to kind of piggyback on what you just said though, about like, what about medication? Because, I'm not anti-medication either. I'm also on an SSRI. I've been able to cut my dose in half thanks to CBD. But you know, if I could do it all over again, I would have started with CBD. And then if I still needed more, then supplemented with the medication. But at the time when I was struggling, I didn't even know about CBD. So I just did what most people do. And I went to my doctor and I got on meds, and I've had to kind of like wean off of or decrease down, you know, and that's not fun to do. So yeah, like I said, if I could do it all over again, I would have started with CBD and then added in the meds to supplement. I need you to go. Data.
And no, that sounds, because my very long backstory with anxiety and how long it went, like I've been on and off medication since I was like, I think I started medication when I was in high school, and the first one I tried was awful. Like it made everything worse, and then on and off and on and off. And then I actually started taking CBD a while back as well. And have been totally like, when I was pregnant with my youngest, I went off my meds cold turkey, which was terrible.
Not fun.
Terrible. Yeah. But just to actually wean down and to go off, be like, this is just like, I don't need this anymore, between like CBD and then everything else that, I think that you and I both share about how to really feel good and how to start getting that anxiety under control in ways that are natural, which I totally love. But yes, if CBD would have been a thing back in the day, I think it just would have made such a huge difference. So yeah. So before that, what was your anxiety like before you went on that?
So
what was it like for you?
I'll take you on a journey of how I kind of got to it. I'll try to make it, that's a candle.
Go ahead.
I'll try to make it quick. Otherwise I feel like it could be all day, but,
take your time.
So, not to make it start off sad, but it kind of all started, in 2020, I lost my dad unexpectedly. But soon after that, it was literally 1 month later, we found out we were pregnant with this one, our second daughter. Yeah. So, basically I took all the trauma and the grief and just shoved it deep down and ignored it and just focused on being pregnant and all the excitement of having another baby. But I mean, obviously, and as you know, you can't do that with grief and trauma, and it's going to come out eventually. So that's what happened. It worked okay until I had her, but then when I had her, it just blew up. I became extremely anxious. I was incessantly worrying. I was irritable, despondent. I never wanted to do anything or go anywhere. I didn't really talk to anyone. And nothing made me happy, including being with my own kids. I was and I was too anxious to actually ever leave them. I was so worried that something horrible would happen to them if they were not under my watch. So it was just this horrible cycle, because looking back, what I really needed was, obviously help, but I also needed to just give myself a break every now and then. And I couldn't do that. And that was just making everything worse. So like I said, I that kind of went on for 6 months or so. And I did what most people do. Like I said, I went to my primary care doctor, and I still remember sitting there because she was like, tell me how you're feeling. Tell me what's been going on. And I just started bawling immediately because I was like, I am so distraught sitting here in your office, being away from my kids, who, mind you, were at home with my husband and my mother. But I was like, I'm so worried about being away from them right now. And as I was saying this and telling her this, I'm like, I know that this is not right. And then, so after talking, she was just kind of she diagnosed, no, you cannot have that. You can have this. She diagnosed me with postpartum anxiety and depression. And so, I went on the medication reluctantly. I didn't want to, but I knew at that point, I needed help. So, it did help. And I went from crying, all things, just being not functioning basically, to functioning. But I didn't feel anything like myself. I was still not happy. I basically just felt like a shell of myself. But I was like, okay, I guess, people say motherhood is hard and stressful, and I guess this is just what it is. Guess this is life. So it's kind of a really depressing thing that I had to swallow. But I just went on with life, and it was probably a couple months later. I was scrolling on Facebook, and I saw a girl that I went to college with, and she was talking about these jellies that she was taking. And her post was literally I could have written it. She's like, she was saying she no longer felt irritable. She wasn't snapping on her kids all the time. She just felt she wasn't overwhelmed anymore. And she just felt calm, and just using all these words. And I was like, oh my God, that's literally the thoughts that go through my head. So I messaged her, and I was like, Crystal, you need to tell me, what are you taking? Like, what are these jellies? And she's like, well, long story short, I don't even remember what she told me exactly, but she was like, it's CBD. And I was like, isn't that a drug? Like, and I still
You're high all the time.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I gotta function as a mom. She's like, no, that's not how it works. And I still get responses like that all the time because people just don't understand it yet. It is still new. So she explained it to me, and it's not like that at all. It's the absence of all those feelings. You're not really like feeling anything. So anyways, I was like, whatever, I'll take whatever you tell me. Like, if it's going to make me feel better, I can't feel any worse than I do now. So I ordered them, and, it was 2 days, and I still remember sitting on the floor in my living room with my 2 girls, and my husband was working downstairs, and he came upstairs and he just looked at me. He could tell something was different or wrong or something. And he's like, what? And I'm like, this is the first time that I've been able to sit on the floor and play with them and be present in this moment and like happy since Emma was born. And I was like, I don't know how else to describe it, but I just feel like this fog has lifted, and I just feel like me again. And after that, I was like, this is incredible. And, you know, when something changes your life like that, like you can't not talk about it. Like you're going to talk about it. And I started talking about it. I shared a picture of my jellies. At this point, I wasn't even partnered with the company that I work with. I was just taking them, and I like shared a picture and like shared what they had how they had helped my anxiety. And I had like literally like 7 or 8 moms message me within an hour being like, what are you
so
taking? Good. I need this. Like, and one girl was like, send me your link. I'm like, I don't have a link. Like, link. And then I was like, you know, like I need to be talking about this because there are clearly other moms that need help. So it's funny because within like an hour, I basically was like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I should enroll and partner with them. And sorry if someone's having a meltdown.
No, you're fine.
And so, you know, I made that decision that day to partner with them because I was like, if it helped me like this, there are so many other women that I know have to be feeling how I felt, and I need to help them.
And I think that's so true. Like it's one of those things where we talk about postpartum, you know, everybody's like, oh, they have postpartum. They think it's depression, and they think, you know, it's only depression. And I love that you talked about your experience because mine was very similar. I mean, my oldest is 23, and I had postpartum anxiety with him a little, but then I have 4 kids. So with every one, it got worse to where I was like, I nursed him for like 4 months until I was like, okay, I need to go back on medicine. And then it was like 3 months, then 2 months. And then it was like 6 weeks, I'm done. And it was just, and it got so out of hand so quickly. And I think there are so many moms that like, I don't want to take medication because I'm nursing or because I'm afraid. And sometimes, you know, that anxiety can kick in even about taking the medication. Like, oh yeah, I want to take it, but I'm so afraid to take it. Like, what if I have bad side effects and everything else? And I just really appreciate you sharing your story because that postpartum thing is no joke. I mean, it is, especially, it sounds like maybe in your case where you weren't terribly anxious until that point, where if you hadn't had that experience in the past to even know what was going on, that's so thank you, because there are so many women who are just sitting in it.
Yeah.
And thinking, no, I'm just stuck now because this is what it's like to be a mom, which is just not true. Yeah.
Yes. And I talk about this a lot too, like the questionnaire that they give you in the pediatrician's office. Like a lot of the questions are just very extreme. And it's like, well, no, I don't want to kill myself. No, I'm
do you want to drown your baby? No, I don't want to do that. It just want to feel good.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I guess I'm fine because, I'm acing this questionnaire. So there's nothing wrong with me. And it's like, I mean, that's a topic for a whole nother day, but like, that needs to change too, because that's not helping people.
No, it's not. So. And I think that, I mean, I don't know if he'll care if I share this, but even the pediatrician's office, like when kids get older, when they get to be teenagers, they all run that anxiety and depression screen now. And what I found is that some kids are so afraid to be honest on it that they're missing the screen because, oh my gosh, if they know this about me, then they'll send me to residential care, or they'll send me away, or something will happen if they know that I feel this way, then whatever is that they think, So, I mean, even kids are like, they have to be truthful on that. And if they're scared or they're anxious or they're depressed, sometimes they know just enough to not be truthful on that. And it's not helpful. And I think the same goes true for moms. So yeah. So was there anything?
Yeah, 100%.
So when you said that you had gone to the doctor and you were like, something's not right, but I'm terrified to leave my babies at home. And, did you do anything that helped you otherwise? Or was there anything that you tried that worked, or anything that you tried that made it worse?
Yeah. So, not until after I got, on the medication and CBD, did I find other things that helped me. Before getting that help, there was no like logical thinking at all. So like, I couldn't even like think to help myself. So once I did get it under control and I started feeling better, I did find, and it's a thing that everybody, and I shouldn't say it's common knowledge because it's not, and I didn't. So I'll explain. Exercise for one. Like I said, I woke up and got my workout in. I did not feel like working out today, and I don't work out every day, but I try to work out most days because I know that it's going to help my anxiety. I feel calmer. And then mornings that I get that done versus when they wake me up and they're like rambling on all the things that they need. Like I'm woken up and then already feeling anxious when they do that to me. So it's so much better when I can wake up before them, get that done. Other changes that I made were I realized caffeine was having a really negative impact.
And I sit here and drink my coffee.
I still drink coffee too, but I have to, I can't drink as much. I used to drink like 6 cups of coffee in the morning. And then I you wonder why you're aged. It's like, I can't do that anymore.
Why can't I stop shaking?
Yeah. So, now I try to just drink a little bit later. Cause when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol levels are higher. So if you can wait until they kind of like level out and, after you've eaten something, that helps too. So I try really, really hard to do that. Cause I do notice a difference with that. And then, I have learned like a handful of like breathing techniques that I use probably every day. The one that I use the most is the square breathing, and you can just Google that, or box breathing. It's called, you can Google that and see how to do it. It's very simple. And like I said, I use that all the time. Just like really simple things that are easy. Cause like I can't sit in a room for an hour and meditate. Like I don't have time for that. So I need practical things and practical changes that I could make. And that's like what I share about on my Instagram page.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I was thinking about how much I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that we're like very similar stories. I talked about when I was still really, really anxious and when my kids were younger, one of the things that I would do is I would go out after dinner and I would walk. And I was not walking because I had any interest in being fit or because I thought it was doing anything. I just wanted to eat cookies and not gain weight. And I needed to escape my house. Like I just needed to go somewhere where I could kind of melt down for a little bit. And I started walking and it was actually while I was walking that I was listening to an audiobook. And I was listening to You Are a Badass, which it's so funny because people read all these self-help books about anxiety and all that. every book I read about anxiety just made me more focused on feeling anxious. And there was this quote, and you are a badass. And it was, anxiety is wishing for what you don't want. And I remember like stopping in the middle. I'm like, what? Why would I wish for what I don't want? And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, oh my God. It was like this one moment. Like I can remember where I was standing on the road, and I was just out taking a walk, and I realized that I'd started walking like occasionally, but then the more I walked, the better I felt. And I mean, you're right. Like you can't think through it at that point. Like your rational brain is not thinking to come up with a plan or to figure out what works and what doesn't. I mean, I just kind of fell into it, right? Like it was one of those, I'm like, oh, I guess that did help. It's kind of like figuring out, oh, there's this breathing thing, or there's this, this like realizing suddenly, which is so funny about the coffee thing, right? Like realizing, oh, coffee really does make me feel worse sometimes. And to be able to catch that, which is so good, because I do think that people are looking for like, what can I do to make it go away and never come back? So can you explain for people? I think it's really important because there is a stigma with like CBD or hemp products or anything else that like, you're just out smoking weed all day. And this is all it is. It's just weed and a gummy. And I'm like, okay, it's not the same. Can you just explain how CBD works in your brain, or how it really helps? Like what is it that you know about it that helps you?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about your endocannabinoid system, but first I want to just kind of explain, because there's these terms and like I used to get them all confused. And so I just want to clarify, because I know most people don't understand it. So cannabis is like an umbrella. It's a species of plant, and hemp and marijuana are both of the cannabis species, but they're very different. So hemp is higher in CBD and lower in THC, and marijuana is higher in THC and lower in CBD. So everybody has what's called an endocannabinoid system, and you've probably never heard of it. I never heard of it. It was actually only discovered in the 1990s. So most doctors are not even educated on it. And they're just now starting to educate about it in medical school, but it's only like, I've seen different percentages depending on where you're reading, but it's like 10 to 15% of medical schools are only educated on this at this point. So your endocannabinoid system is like it's the most important system in your body. It basically oversees and controls all of your other bodily systems and makes sure that they are operating in balance and keeping your body in homeostasis. Because if, for example, your immune system is operating too high or working too hard, that's where like autoimmune issues can come into play. And if it's not working enough, that's when you can get sick. So it's really important to be in balance, and that's where homeostasis comes in. So, like I said, everybody has an endocannabinoid system. And I like to use this parking lot analogy for how CBD works. So, sorry, they're riding scooters in the house right now. But
no, they're
letting me talk.
Kids, you're a mom. This is why you do what you do. I love it. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. So your endocannabinoid system, it's filled with, you have these receptors all throughout your body, and it produces its own endocannabinoids to help your body stay in balance. And then these receptors accept cannabinoids or phytocannabinoids like CBD. So if you think of a parking lot, when your receptors in your body or your parking spaces become depleted, that's when your body is out of balance. Okay. This can cause things like you to have poor sleep. It can cause anxiousness, pain, a myriad of health issues. And due to just environmental factors and the world that we live in today, most, if arguably not everyone, has empty parking spaces. So this is where CBD comes in. It comes into your body, and it finds where you have empty parking spaces or where your receptors are empty. And it binds to them like a lock and key, and it brings your body back into balance. This is a really simplified explanation, but I feel like
I love that. That's a good analogy. Former teacher me is like, that was a great lesson. Good job. I want to draw it on the whiteboard.
Yes. I'm a visual learner, so
I love it.
Yes. So when that happens, then you start to feel the absence of the stress and the anxiousness and the fatigue, the pain. You might feel like your body bounces back more quickly after you have a really intense workout or surgery. And you'll probably feel like you have more energy and you're just overall in a better mood. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell how it works in your body. And it oftentimes I get people asking like, well, what CBD do I need for this? And it's like, well, it's not how it works. CBD just goes in your body and it figures out what you need in general. So CBD, that's how it helps everyone with so many different things.
I love that. And I know that there's a lot of people that I've talked to like, well, one thing that helps me is I just smoke or I take edibles or whatever like that. But then I just feel so much more anxious. And I think that one of the things that's really important is to be able to say, CBD does not give you that high. And actually, I mean, yes, in the short term, if you want to go smoke weed, that will probably make you less anxious, but can also have a residual effect where you're a lot more anxious when you're high, or even the next day after you smoke. For people who are actually just like, they don't go CBD, like they just go and get high. Not to say that it won't help for the short term, but it can definitely flip a switch on it, and they can be more anxious and more irritable the next day. Not because it's like an addiction issue, but because of that like after effect. There's like where I don't know, like for me personally, I've not experienced that with CBD, where I don't feel like, oh, there's like the after effect. So
yeah. And also with THC, you, what's the word I'm looking for? Tolerance. You start to build a tolerance, and THC is the only cannabinoid where you build a tolerance to. Mm-hmm. So that's why if you're a heavy THC user, you find that over time you have to use more and more and more and more to get that desired effect. It's because you're building a tolerance, and your receptors actually start to hide is what's happening. So that's when you start needing to use more and more and more.
Yeah. And that's a really good distinction. Yeah. Thank you for that. So when you say, like, what was the first thing you noticed when you started taking CBD? I know you said you were sitting on the floor. So was there anything that, like, how quickly did you notice, or what was it how did it change anxiety for you?
So, I noticed, like I said, it was a night and day difference after 2 days. Not everybody has that quick of like, notices benefits that quickly. It just depends on your endocannabinoid system and like what your body needs. So sometimes it can take a few days. Sometimes it can be 1 day. Sometimes it could be a couple weeks of taking it every single day before you start to feel those benefits.
Yeah.
So everybody's different. Sorry, what was the first part of your question?
No, I just wondered how CBD really just changed, like, how quickly it worked or how it changed things for you.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say I never like have anxiety anymore, because that's not true. I still definitely do experience it sometimes. But a prime example of a situation like this, like for the people listening, you can't see what's happening to me right now, but my kids are being complete psychopaths and literally jumping on me. And I feel calm. Without CBD, I would probably be crying right now and want to end this interview immediately. So I
love it because I think they're just being kids. Like they are being kids. Yeah,
they are, but it's very distracting. So I'm able to like kind of like step back and see it for what it is. And like I said it earlier, when it was not under control, I couldn't think logically to like problem solve and think about things that I could do to help it. Whereas now, if I start to feel anxiety, I'm like, okay, what can I do right now? Like, can I go for a walk? Like you said, can I sit and just do like a couple of minutes of box breathing? Can I go sit in the grass and just listen to the birds chirp? I'm able to kind of problem solve it and just think. Whereas before CBD, I could never. So that's been like the big game changer.
That is absolutely the game changer for sure. Yeah. Because you're right. Like you can't, like when you're anxious, thinking doesn't happen, right? Like your body's just not in that place. And how perfect. Like I love that for you. So I know your kids want your attention. So before we go, can you tell people like, where can they find you to learn more about CBD, to like purchase CBD from you? Like tell them what they need to know. Where can they find you?
Yeah. And so I kind of alluded to this earlier. I work with a company called Green Compass. Mm-hmm. But you can find me on Instagram at there's my dog. He's standing up right now. I'm on Instagram at the Jess Laurence, Laurence. So find me on there, send me a message. I like to talk to all of my prospective clients and just like really listen to and try and understand what they're dealing with so that I can make an informed recommendation. I don't like to I never just like send people my link, even if people do want to buy. Like I always have a conversation with them to try and understand what they're dealing with. I also have a Google form or a quiz linked in my bio that if you don't feel like having a conversation with me, that's totally fine. You can just answer all the questions in this form, and then I can email you back a couple different recommendation options based on what you told me. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram.
I love it. I love it. So this is so good. And I will make sure to link your Instagram on in the show notes so that people can just go to the show notes too. Perfect. And click and find you on Instagram. And this is so good. Like I'm so excited and I love everything about this interview. I love that your kids like she's a real mom, right? Like this is what moms do. And someday your kids will be 23 and you're going to be like, oh my God, when they were like monkeying on my back and everything. And it's so fun. So this just makes my whole morning and I loved it. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me. This was so fun, Megan.
Absolutely. And I love it. Like she said she lives outside Chicago and I just live like a couple hours away, but it's so funny. Like in that couple hours, like how many people you find all over the world that like,
I know,
and I click with and I just love it. So yeah, so good.
Oh my gosh. Somebody is covered in marker. So yes,
go.
Perfect ending.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Megan. You too.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I loved being able to introduce Jessica to you, and I will make sure to put her Instagram link in the show notes so that you can find her, ask her all the questions about CBD and how she might be able to help you. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this episode. And if you'd like to reach out with me, you can go to my website. It's megandevito.com, and there is a tab at the top that says schedule a consultation. You can talk with me more about how I can help you in a life coaching situation to help you manage stress and anxiety and to go after all the incredible things that you want. Make it a great week, and I will talk to you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the More Than Anxiety podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review so others can easily find this resource as well. And of course, if you're ready to feel more relaxed, have more energy, more confidence, and a lot more fun, go to megandevito.com/work with me or just to the show notes to talk to me more about coaching. See you soon.